Painting and sculptures are not that hard to make as installations, but people ask, do you charge for installation? It's like, yeah, they don't come with even. So it's another challenge that I found, and I'm still working with. I see myself as a messenger. I'm thankful because being gifted to create something, but it's something that belongs to everyone, not just me. I've been contacted by a gallery to represent me. I asked them a couple of questions and I didn't find them very professional. So I said, no, I don't think it's the right moment to work with you. They didn't take it well. They blocked me from Instagram. And I found they copy my work.
What?
They copy 5 pieces. Literally trace the same shapes of my paintings with another artist. Like, wow.
Welcome back to the Installation Art Podcast, the world's #1 and only podcast about installation art and the people who work with it. This show is dedicated to discussing the unique joys and challenges of the medium and uncovering stories from behind the scenes. I am your host, Anastasia Parmson. My guest today is Mexican artist based in Barcelona, Mareo Rodriguez. He creates paintings, sculptures, and installations that are influenced by natural processes and geological formations. Mareo has exhibited all over the world, including in North America, Latin America, the Middle East, Asia, and Europe. You get the picture. His work is also in several notable collections. It is my pleasure to introduce Mareo. How's your work-life balance?
My work-life balance is not really balanced, actually.
Are you a workaholic?
I'm kind of workaholic. Yeah, I mean, I think every artist who has passion for it will tell you the same. Always thinking about it. It's like an obsession. It's really hard to disconnect from your mind. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Sometimes going to nature, which is part of my inspiration.
Yeah.
Is what I do to disconnect and also to reconnect. I really enjoy traveling too for work, and then I explore. My work fits from all this experience, all these connections, understanding the human aspects, the human fragility. I really love finding new ways of experimenting reality. So yeah, that's what I do to disconnect, but I'm pretty much a workaholic.
And what do you think? If you weren't an artist, what would you be doing?
What a tricky question. Actually, well, I'm an architect and I worked 12 years as an architect in a studio, designing mostly. I really enjoy it, but didn't give me enough freedom to express what I wanted. But this is my profession, so I use it in some ways for my installations. I think it's one asset that I have is artist, architect. Both parts. I really like interior design, furniture, everything related to arts, music too. Everything related to creativity. I find it really interesting.
Is there any musician who has impacted your work?
From York, from Radiohead. Incredible. Yeah, he's always reinventing himself. It's like, wow, it's really, really incredible.
What's your favorite beverage in your studio while you're working?
Beer, mostly.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get rid of beer, but yeah, beer mostly. I don't drink very much coffee, just one in the morning, sometimes after lunch, because I had like a tick last week. I was like, what? Probably a lot of coffee, so I'm trying to get rid of it.
Right.
Yeah. In summertime, a lot of water. Yeah.
Okay.
It's very hot here in Barcelona during summertime. So,
all right, let's get into the main story and let's go first to the very beginning. Where did you grow up?
I was born in Mexico City, and actually my family experienced the earthquake, a really big earthquake in 1986 in Mexico City, and probably it has impact in my work. The idea of the forces of nature, and also the destruction, the cracks, that kind of thing probably unconsciously influencing my work. Then we moved to Medellin, which is the city that is in my heart, my city, Medellin, Colombia, which is a valley surrounded by the Cordillera de los Andes, a big chain mountain. So my first impression of the landscape was seeing that Cordillera as a background, which has a really big impact too in my work.
And were you a creative kid? What kind of stuff were you into?
Yeah, my mother discovered really early age my passion for drawing. I could be drawing and painting for hours, super focused. So since the early age, we were in lessons in academy, learning techniques, and I love it since the very first stages. Yeah,
And you went to study architecture, is that correct?
exactly.
Where did you study?
But art was first as a hobby. And my mom support us every lessons you want. But in the moment to decide which career to choose in Colombia, all the family has decisions. No, study something that really you can live from. So I studied architecture, which was a mix between something very technical and something arty. I don't regret. I really enjoyed the career. But then I say, no, this is not for me. I need some more freedom. So after 12 years, I was fired actually. My last job as an architect. Then I say, yeah, fuck it. Let's move. Was the best decision in my life.
So, how did you then get into making art? What steps did you take?
I met my first mentor, Cesar Diogo. He's a friend from Colombia too. My approach to him is, okay, how can you live from art? Is it possible? It's not that dream. And yeah, for me it was a dream. I didn't know how to live from art. So my first steps was by his side, taught me everything about contacting galleries, clients to make us a profession. So I spent like 4 or 5 years in his studio. Then I say, okay, I need my own space, my own voice, my own path. And then I opened my own studio. Basically, it was like that, but it was very natural. Actually, I had a lot of ideas, a lot of projects that I want to make, but I was working as a full-time job architect in office. I didn't have time. The weekends I was really tired. So I have a lot of things there, like a volcano. So when I had the time and the space, wow, it was a lot of things. And still, I still have a lot of ideas in my head faster than I can materialize them. I think it's like a gift, and it's also like a message that I have to spread. Well, I see it that way.
So, when you were starting to get these ideas for art stuff, did these also include installation projects already?
I didn't know what were installations actually. My vision of art is like paintings, sculptures, basically, because I didn't study art. And then I realized, okay, what is an installation? It's perfect because it's like a balance between painting and sculptures and the architecture. It's very architectural because the relation with the space is super important with the materials, with the human scale, with the experience of being immersed. So it's very architectural. So it was very organic for me actually doing installation because I already had the tools from my architecture background. So I just mixed them. It was super natural.
Can you tell me about some challenges you came across during the beginnings of your art career?
Well, my first challenge is when you are beginning is, okay, can you live from this? Can you make it as a full job? That was my first challenge. And actually I was really close to, to give up
Yeah, really?
because I was 1 year and I didn't sell anything. All my savings were gone. And I say, okay, this is it. I tried. And then I knocked doors in Barcelona, galleries, the traditional way, and nothing happened. And then I said, okay, let's use the technology. So I use Instagram. It starts to grow organically. Was really, really good. And suddenly one client from New York, he bought me 6 pieces. Like, I want this. Okay, wow.
And that's somebody
I
who
was in
found you
shock
through Instagram.
through Instagram. So for me, it was, wow, is it possible? And it was a blessing. It's always in my, in my things because it was like the Kickstarter.
Mm-hmm.
And actually I did a crowdfunding too for an exhibition. Was successful. And those 2 episodes were the Kickstarter of my career. I said, okay, let's do it. It's possible. There's an audience for that. Yeah, that was my first challenge, the first 2, 3 years in from art. And then, okay, I have a lot of ideas, but actually what's my voice? Making a lot of stuff, but I have to depurate to synthesize more what I want. Well, try to understand what's expressing because in art you do, but sometimes you don't know what you're doing, just flowing. And then you look back and you understand, it's like a diary and then you read, okay. So then I can understand. So trying to find what's your message, what's your voice. And then dealing with galleries, collectors, haters, is a lot of things that you have to deal with, as part of the game.
So how did you figure out the message eventually?
Looking back,
Mm-hmm.
what's in common? Because I painted mountains and painted rocks, waterfalls.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How do you decide what medium or what material to use for a particular project?
A really interesting question. Depends. Depends on the budget, depends on the place where I going to insert the installation. It depends on the timing. So I make a balance. I make several proposals and then depending on the budget, timing, place, scale. Okay, let's do it this way. Let's do it this way. For me, material is not like I'm not attached with a one material. I learned that from architecture, actually. We have a teacher that say there's no good or bad materials. There are good ways to use a material. There are bad ways to use a material. But every material could work if you know how to use it. Yeah. But I like soft materials, actually, because I'm not like a steel man with a hammer. I delegate some hard work for part, but I really like materials that I can manipulate myself. So I use fabrics, I use plexiglass, I use soft aluminum, I use LED strips. I also collaborate with visual artists for projections, for mapping. I use foam, I use resins. I'm starting to use natural stone, which is something that is really natural to my work. But for some reason, I don't know, technically, I haven't explored it, but I love crystals. I have a lot in my studio, but I haven't experienced to work directly with the rocks. In the past years, I traced the form of the rocks, but with resins and fiberglass, but I never work with the real stone, well, the real rocks. So it's something that I'm exploring. I'm more interested in the concept and represent the idea rather than something literally, okay, this is it. It's more the concept of the nature.
Mm-hmm.
So everything could work. Actually. It's just to use your imagination.
What's the most unusual or strange material that you've worked with?
Oof. I think not the material per se, but the natural light.
Yeah.
For me, the most beautiful material that we can have. And you can canalize it. You can make reflection with them, make refraction with them. It's the most beautiful light. I think my work is everything about light and how it refracts the shadows they cast, and it's free
Mm-hmm.
until now.
Do you build everything
Yeah.
yourself for your installations?
No, I have a team. I delegate. The design is all by myself. In some parts of the creation, I delegate them. If I can't do it, I do a lot, most of my work, but sometimes there are very technical, very specific things that I can't do it. So I delegate them, but all the direction is on me. Yeah.
And how do you go about finding those collaborators who can make stuff that you can't?
Normally they came to me. It's very natural. Normally I just put like posts. Okay. I'm looking for a free animator system and and it came really natural. And I like it. I like that the people who is working with me really likes my work because they will work with passion because they're on my team. So I really like working with people that feel passions for my work. I think it's the way it works there.
And what kind of skills have you had to learn to do the kind of work you do now?
Most of my skills actually, and I'm really grateful for that, I learned in architecture, actually. The understanding of the three dimensionality of the space, the programs, the 3D programs to understand, to model, to render, to visualize, for the installation, basic, the architecture, basic concepts. Well, my opinion, understanding the space, understanding the materials, what you can do, the gravity. Well, in my case, about light, probably mostly. Yeah, some materials that you know the properties. So to understand, investigate, to work with people who are ready to how the materials work. Basically that. And then logistics, transportation, logistics, how to you assembly something, how you install, and also working with the curators, youth galleries, your institution, all that organizational, all that.
The admin?
Yeah, exactly. The admin. Sometimes you have to do a lot of stuff. It's
Oh,
not
yes.
just creating nice stuff now. Sometimes the half of my days, they are stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I hear ya.
Mm.
So, how did you get into first showing installation works? Tell me about your first big opportunity.
It was a really nice experience. It was in Italy back in 2016, 8 years ago. It was in the north part of Italy in Bioglio, close to Biella. It was by a curator. He discovered my work and he invited me to make an installation in the woods. It was part of the nature. So in Argentina in 2014, I made a model size 50 by 50 centimeters. It was like a topography with a lot of vertical poles, 200 poles. Was like the energy of the land coming through those poles. That's really beautiful. And then I placed it in big scale. It was like 12 meters by 12 meters and 3 meters high in the ground, like land art, actually, with the background of the big mountains close to Switzerland in the north of Italy. And it was a really nice experience because it was with refugees from Pakistan and Africa that helped me to make the installation. It was really, really beautiful working with them, hearing their experiences also. You know the problem, you know the refugees, but you never feel. I didn't have the opportunity to talk to them, to hear them, to understand their wounds, their journeys. And it was really something very impactful and the installation was really good. So it was my first one. It was like 2 weeks working with them, in the summer times, making holes in the ground, putting the poles. It was a really, really hard job. I don't know if I will do it again, but I really enjoyed it. It was a beautiful time, a beautiful experience.
What about some gallery opportunities? How did you get some of your first collaborations with
Well,
galleries or dealers or institutions?
mostly the approach to me, I think it's the organical way to collaborate with galleries. Some galleries, they feel attracted by your work and then they call you. The other way around, it doesn't work that well. You can apply, you can search what galleries are in your same line and contact them. In my case, normally they contact me. One of my first good galleries, they contacted me, one gallery from Italy, from Brescia. We made a beautiful installation there also in a solo exhibition back in 2018, E3 gallery. It was like a black volume coming through the wall and a light volume coming through another wall. So it's like the merge of both worlds. And another one that I remember was in California, and it was with black fabric, 6 meters. It was like a volume made of fabric, very thick fabric, and a line of light piercing the volume of fabric. But the fun experience is that that fabric is easy to find here in Barcelona. So I say, okay, in California, it's easy to find. It's America. There's a lot of shops. And in that part of San Diego, we didn't find the fabric. We searched for like 10, 12 stores and they didn't have the fabric. It's like a very thick fabric, felt, I think is the name.
Yeah.
And we couldn't find it, and we find it very thin. So when we made the note, it fell down. It was very fragile. So we need something thicker that we can shape better the sculpture. So we had to drive with one friend, one angel that I had there. She drove me to Los Angeles. And they only had it in one store.
Wow.
In Los Angeles fashion district, in one Mexican store, I remember. So when we found it, was like, yeah, we did it. And then in 3 days, sometimes installation, they are hectic. We have very few days to make it. Then another technical issue was with the light. It was 6 meters line going from the ceiling to the ground. And yeah, it was, wow. Mistakes, fun experience, but well, yeah, I can look back and say, okay, it was a great experience, but there I was in panic because I had a big compromise and I didn't know if it was going to work. It was my first summer show there. So it had to be great. And yeah, we did it. It was fantastic.
You used LED tube light or something?
Exactly. But there's not like a tube of 6 meters. Well, probably there is, but I couldn't find it. So I had to buy LED rope and then with some plexiglass tubes. It's like a case for fluorescent tubes. So it's like a straw, but a big straw, transparent. Then I had to sand it so it gets refraction of light and put one straw inside each other. It gives the effect that the light is just one because the refraction of the light with the sanding the transparent plexiglass because I'm blasting. So yeah, technically it was very handcraft, but the result was really great. Mostly for the installations, they don't have budget. Well, initially in my first installation, they don't have budget. Most of the institutions, they say, okay, I love your installation. So, but we don't have budget. Okay. So, it's really hard. I mean, painting and sculptures are not that hard to make as installations, but no one is going to say, okay, this painting has a price, but the people ask, do you charge for installation? It's like, yeah, they don't come with even. So it's another challenge that I found and I'm still working with. I sell my paintings and sculptures kind of easy. They have their price and people say, okay, it's fine. But for installations is different because normally you can't sell installations. Well, you can, but normally when they are really big, they are done precisely for a place in particular. So who can afford them is more for institutions, for museums, for festivals, but then it's for 2, 3 days. So we don't have budget for. So there's like a balance, but the installations, I think, is my strongest part of my body of work. And they help me to get recognition to sell my more commercial body of work, which is painting and sculptures.
So how do the big projects get funded now? Because you're saying, especially in the early days when somebody wanted an installation, they'd say, oh, we love your work, come and make it, but we don't have any money. Has that changed? Do they have money now?
Yeah, depends. I mean, this is my profession. This is my job. I live from it, but also it's my passion. So depends if the project is really interesting for me, even if they don't have budget or is limited. And if I feel I have to do it, I do it. For example, the last one that I remember was in Istanbul, the Triennale in Istanbul. We have several meetings. The place was fantastic because it was like the tower of a dungeon of the Ottoman Empire, 30 meters high, something like that, really, really high and beautiful. And I had the idea of that line, well, called the crack of light. And I think it should be fantastic for this space. So I did it and basically I did pay for accommodation, flights, material, everything, but I didn't get paid. I didn't have fees for that. And I said, okay, no worries. I will do it because I really like it.
Mm-hmm.
And it opened me many doors, this installation. So sometimes you just have to follow your voice. So it depends. But normally if it's for a private collector or institution or something more formal, no, I respect my profession. I say, okay, this is my fees and that's it. But depends. Depends.
Yeah.
It's like a balance. Sometimes you just do it for money. Sometimes you have to do the things because you have to. It's your, and then you will find the reward afterwards. Most of the time you find it.
So would you say that your paintings and sculptures help you fund the larger passion projects more often than not?
Yes, in this moment, but it's changing. Actually, in the last couple of years, after doing love for art projects, I've been called for making interesting projects with institutions, with festivals, for museums, actually, with budget. But first you have to say, yeah, okay, I can make it. This could be materialized.
Great. Well, that's good to hear.
Yeah. And then you have to, okay, I already made it once for Passion of Art. Now but I mean, again, it depends on the project, depends on if the project is interesting and the conditions are okay, let's do it just because passion, but depends.
Mm-hmm. What would you say has been the biggest opportunity for you so far?
I have a couple this year, but I can't talk about them until they are materialized. But apart from that, this Istanbul opportunity was really magic.
Mm-hmm.
Also, one from a museum in China a couple of years ago, Times Art Museum, which was a collective exhibition with really, really well recognized installation artists as Alex Kinek, David Spriggs. There were a lot of big, big, big people that I admired. And also the Islamic Art Festival in Sharjah in Emirates. I participated in 3 editions. I met some really, really good artists, Joanny de Mercier, Angela Glascar, Signato, Jan Albert. Wow, a lot of artists that I admire. It's like, wow, I'm working with someone that I admired before. It's like now I'm part of them. That's beautiful. So yeah, the Islamic Art Festival is really beautiful. It's not that known as it should be, but it's a fantastic experience. Yeah. So I participated in 2018 and 19.
And have you ever had moments where you say to yourself, this is it, or I've made it now?
Yeah. It's funny because most of the installations that I made, I haven't done them before. So I have a lot of expectations, but also fear that I won't be able to make it. And then it's like I enter in a state of flow. I just surrender and I say, okay, I'm just a messenger, a tool, something like that. And I'm not alone. And it's like a magic. All the people start to help and if we have problem, we figure it out like that fabric that I told you in California. You have a problem and you will always find someone. For example, in the Triennial of Istanbul, we had the piece of light, which was 27 meters or something. And then we had to hang it from the top. It was like some ceiling beams. And we have a professional climber to climb up the beams and hang it from there.
Wow.
and she couldn't make it. It was a light material, but with the gravity, it was really heavy, and we were, without some poles, but she couldn't make it. So we had to call another two climbers to help her. It was really challenging to make it through, yeah, but you always find a way. In the end, is something it's bigger than you. You are just a part. You enter in the role, but you are with a lot of persons helping you. You're never alone. So it's beautiful. Even when it's the first time, always you find a way. You always find a way. You always find a solution. So it's beautiful because the project in the end is created by a lot of people. You're just part of it. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, because sometimes the artists, they believe the ego, yeah, I'm the creator. No, you're just a tool or something bigger than you that has to be manifested. And I see myself as a messenger. I'm not like me. No, just, I'm thankful because being gifted to create something, but it's something that belongs to everyone. It's not just me.
That's beautiful. Do you always have to be present during the install?
No, actually, the installation made in Beijing, in China, it was restricted because the COVID at that
Mm-hmm.
time, and I couldn't travel. Actually, I couldn't experience, which is a shame. And so I gave them all the technical information, the CAD drawings, 3D models, renders, and specifications, and they built it. They built it really fast. I wanted. Also one of my things, they were really efficient and the result was fantastic. Yeah,
Well, you probably have like really good prep work and instructions being an architect.
exactly. Exactly. It's one of my, yeah, basically. And then you have to trust the team. Sometimes they have more knowledge than you, the one who are building. They have knowledge. If there's a good team, they can teach you ways to do it. But you have to have clear what's your vision and how you want it. And then the technical part, you will find a way. But
Mm-hmm.
it's really important, the vision. How do you want it? And then find a way to make it real.
Yeah. I
Mm.
noticed the images of your work are really super high quality to a point where sometimes I can't tell if it's real or not.
Hmm.
I think you use 3D modeling or maybe AI to generate sort of previews of things you want to build. Tell me a bit about that.
Yes. As I told you, in my architecture years, we design by hand, making physical models, then making 3D models, rendering. So it's a tool that I learned from architecture to represent projects. Before making a building, you have renders, plans, simulations, physical models. So that's a tool that was really natural to me. It's a way to represent a concept before seeing it real. First is in your head, there's the visualization, and then you create it in real life. So yeah, that was a tool that I learned there. So I made all the renders that you see. I made it myself because sometimes I have a lot of concept to express and sometimes they go more faster than I can't see it, in real life. And when I pass away, there are concepts. I would love to see them created, it's like some instructions for someone who would love to create them. And the last 2 years, I'm working with AI, which I found it fantastic. Well, like I was, it's a tool of two sides, it depends on how you use it. But if you use it in the good way, for me, it's a really powerful tool to create concepts and really fast. Well, as I told you before, you have to give the proper instructions, the proper parameters. It's not just create me something beautiful now. I have my vision. I know what I want. So I'm really meticulous with the way I want to express, with the way I want to represent, with the colors, the palette, the backgrounds, how I want to express my concepts. I use the technology. If it's there, why not? You know?
Are those images kind of like prep work, or are they artworks in themselves?
I see them as studies, separate works. And one of these installations, I sold them. But I've been called, for example, musicians. Some musicians call me for their album covers, and they have used some of from my installation, like some looks. Some looks they use for EPs that they release, vinyl EPs. But I never see them as final artworks, just some studies, concept studies. I call them like that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And there's also often people in your images. I'd imagine it's also coming from the architectural background where you put in human figures for scale. But does it also mean that the audience plays a role in your work? Is it interactive?
Absolutely. It's like giving you the scale. The person completes the artwork when they experience the installation, all the memories, all the connections, and also a sense of a scale, the human scale, the proportion is super important for the installation. So I always put a person on, no, not always, but most of my studies, I put a person there. Actually, I'm working on a physical model again, and I bought some small figures and it's beautiful. The shadow, the cast, and gives you the proportion, relation with this, it's like gives you the same sense as it was like a person there. So,
can you tell me, when you're making like physical models for installations, what sort of scale do you use?
150, 100, sometimes detail 125, depends.
Mm-hmm.
For example, I made like a black box recently with a crack. And I wanted to see how the sun affects when it's going through a crack. I play with fog. I play also with artificial light, making like it was the sun going through different towers. It probably was a bit small. Probably I needed to make bigger to go in with the camera and record it. And you can see the space. Yeah. So it depends on the project. Yeah. But well, I've been working with the 3D models, but all in digital. But the experience with physical is completely different. And as I told you, working with the natural sunlight is, beautiful with the atmosphere, putting the physical model into the sun and playing with the fog. Wow, it's another thing. It's another. So it depends on the project. Some projects, they just digital. It has to be digital. There's no like a line to how to design an installation. In my case, depends. The project, they require different things. And in all my work, I don't have like a one formula. Actually, I don't like it. For me, part of my work is enjoying, finding joy. And if I do the same every time, I get bored. The concept is evolving. There's a line, some continuity, but I'm exploring different things, materials, techniques. I have different questions. I'm not the same as I was 10 years ago. So why should I do the same? So I see it as a laboratory, exploring all the time, having fun.
I'm asking because my next thing is to start making models myself for some large scale, high budget things that I don't even have a studio space to make yet. So I'm like, yeah, I need to make models to see how to build it, etc. So yeah, I'm into that at the moment.
Nice.
Tell me, what would you like the audience to take away from experiencing your work?
It's a really good question. I could give you the answer with an example of an exhibition that I experienced this last December in Super Blue, Miami. It's an installation from James Turrell, which is a master of light. And it was really beautiful because he asked the audience to put some like gloves for the shoes. So you don't step into it was like a white canvas. It's like a temple, when you're in a mosque in some temples, you have to take your shoes off before entering to the temple. So I would like the people experience my art with respect. This is really beautiful. You just go barefoot, or covering your shoes. And another rule of that installation of James Turrell was don't take pictures, don't make videos. Just be present.
Wow, that's unusual.
I love it because actually it was like a meditating. It wasn't about showing off or, okay, this is cool. No, it was being present, being immersive, just feel it, silence. So you can really hear what the artist wanted to transmit. I like that. I like that kind of respect for my work. That is something sacred that you are entering into a temple, or when you experience the sublime of a landscape, seeing waterfall, sunset, going to a cave, it's just wow. You are talking to God, you are in a sacred experience. I like that. I don't know if it will happen, but I would love that. You're really going deep. You can really hear what I wanted to transmit or what
Yeah.
connection you can make with the work. Yeah.
Well, asking the audience to not photograph or video the work in this day and age is a pretty bold
I
move,
know.
because today we're all about this Instagrammable moment, like here in Sydney a few years ago, there was a big exhibition of Pipi Lottirist, who is my favorite artist. And I remember there were people queuing up to buy tickets. They had no idea who it was. They didn't know the name of the artist. They would come up and show some influencer's Instagram and be like, I want that. And they would be queues for the most photographed room and stuff. And I was like, no, you guys are
No, no, no,
not
no,
getting
no.
it.
No, you kill the experience. Because when you're with a mobile, you're making an interfere with the experience. Well, you have the record of it, but you don't get the full experience. When I experience something really nice, I just take a photo or a video, but really short. And then I take my time to fully experience and fully live what is there. There's a lot of superficiality with the art. Here in Spain, for example, you go to an exhibition and everything is a social meeting. It's about drinking. People don't even see what's in the walls. It's the posing, and I don't like that. Meaning for respect for the art. You are experiencing something. You are going to a concert. Even here, they talking really loud and chatting. Hey, go to a bar. You came here to listen, be present. For me, that's really important. But at the end, that kind of rules in Super Blue, like, wow, that's cool because there's people guiding you how to experience it. But if you don't have guidance, well, you can do what you want. And obviously people talking there, but if you have a guide, okay, these are the rules. It's a way of teaching people how to experience that. And I think it's really important to teach
Yeah.
people how to.
Yeah. It's not until you see a badly managed exhibition that you understand, especially in museums, that you understand how important audience design is, as in how the institution and the workers there are guiding people around the show, or how the audience is allowed to or not allowed to experience an installation, say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and depends on the kind of installation. Talking about my particular way of my installations is about silence. It's about being present. So probably it doesn't have to be that way for all installations. For example, there was another installation that I saw in Buenos Aires from Yayoi Kusama. They give you stickers in the entrance. So there was like a room, like a living room full of dots. It looked like a 2D image. And then the people start to put themselves, those stickers in the body. So you look immersed in that room. I found it really, really smart move actually, because you are being part of the installation. It was kind of funny and different ways the people like to be part of the installation. They dance and they make some movements and they jump and because they want to be part of that, but what depends. They can also ruin your experience.
Yeah.
So yeah, should be a balance.
Say you've done a site specific work and it hasn't sold, like a big installation. What happens to the work after the exhibition's over?
Destroyed.
Really?
Destroyed or yeah, or sent back to mystery. Depends on the scale.
Do you reuse elements of an installation in another work?
Mostly lights, but some elements, for example, big mirrors that I can't reuse them. Sheet depends. If it's really big and I can't reuse it, right? Mostly it is international. Yeah.
Do you source materials on location for the most part?
Yeah. 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 I try to be ecological in that way to find materials and produce them there and work with local people the most that I can. Yeah.
So that means you're basically building the installation on site every time.
Most of the time.
Wow.
Unless there's like a really particular part that I have to create in my studio and it's necessary. If not, I build them on site. Yeah. Because normally they are big pieces. All the logistics will be really, really, really hard. And the cost also, so I try to work locally.
Yeah. So what's usually your lead time? Like how long would it take you to put something together on the spot?
That's a tricky question. It depends on the project. Normally there are like months of preparation and then I try that when I arrive, everything is there and the installation should be around 1, 2 weeks maximum. But depends on the project. Is it more or less?
Sounds stressful.
Yeah, I'm kind of, as I try to, everything is ready when I'm there. It's just about, okay, let's do it. Let's make it install. Sometimes there's already a part of the installation there. So only what is necessary in my presence. So I'll try to in the less time we can.
Can you tell me about a time when you had to deal with some crap coming from the art world?
Crap coming from the art world. Yeah. Yeah. Actually, in the beginning of my career, I had a really bad episode of bullying. Some big, well, recognized Latin American artists accusing me for some copying. Even if I wasn't using the material, I wasn't using the same concept just because it looked like I been bullied from his galleries, his collectors, his friends. It was a really, really bad episode. Tells a lot about the person who makes that. Fortunately, I believe in myself. I believe in my art. I believe in my message. I could go through, but it could be very devastating for someone who is starting. So social media has these two sides. You can use it for good, for spread your message, but also could be really all the bullying, the people behind an account, they think that they can spread the spread and destroy people and commenting. It's really, really ugly. That.
So you're saying that this artist didn't just privately email you and say, "Hey, you're copying my work," but was like
No, no,
publicly
no, no, no.
slandering you?
Actually, I wrote him. Say, okay, I'm using another material. I respect your work. I'm not copying you. And he replied me, no, it's fine. But in that moment, I didn't know he was behind all this dirt, this move. And then I knew it. It was like, wow, you know, really, really, really disappointed, but I move on. I've been copied, but it was really strange because last year I've been contacted by a gallery in Switzerland to represent me. They were about to open and I asked them a couple of questions and I didn't found them very professional. So I said, no, look, I don't think it's the right moment to work with you. Let's talk next year when you open to see how things are going. And we make a collaboration. They didn't take it well. They say, no, we already found a replacement for your work. Okay. They blocked me from Instagram. Okay. and I didn't give importance. And for some reason, I entered your websites last week and I found they copy my work.
What?
But literally, they don't reinterpret. They copy 5 pieces, but literally trace the same shapes of my paintings with another artist. Like, wow. But like a cheat copy, but the same shapes. It's like, what?
Wow.
I've been imitated. People make interpretation of my works. And for me, it's okay. It's normal when you're starting that you have like inspirations and there's people that creativity starts like this, imitating or trying to recreate something that you like. You can make reinterpretation, but it was literally a copy. And what annoys me is like the gallery. We already talked and I say, okay, no, I don't want to work in this moment with you. So say, okay. It was really, really dirt move. So yeah, in the world of art, there are a lot of egos. It's like the dark side of the of the art. Well, yeah, you have to deal with it. It's part of the game.
That's a really weird thing to do.
Yeah, I was in shock. I was like, wow. And now I'm taking legal actions against that because it's not okay.
Yeah, that's annoying having to deal with that and even think about it and worry
Mm,
about it.
yeah, anger is not against the art. It's trying to make a living, but obviously, if you play that movie, probably you don't respect yourself enough. But the gallery, we already have a conversation and they knew my work. How will you do that? What kind of gallery are you?
That's
No,
super sus.
it's weird. I never experienced that as
Mm.
well. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, I will have to deal with that. And for sure in the next years, probably with bigger artists or bigger galleries. So copyright, just make everything in the legal way, register your works, and it's part of things that you have to do to protect your work.
So, have you taken steps to secure trademarks or copyrights or some things on your work?
I'm on it. I'm on it.
Yeah. What are
Yeah,
you
I have
doing?
some of them already registering.
What's the process like? What do you have to do?
In some institutions, just register, upload your pictures, the year, the description, as much information as you have. So you have like a legal register of copyright.
Does it apply internationally or?
This one, it says it's international. It's an institution here in Spain, but I have to search more specifically because, yeah, I think it works international. They say it's international. But if you find one, also tell me because I'm trying, for example, in this legal case with the gallery in Switzerland, it's not easy to make a claim with someone from another country.
Mm.
You have to find a local lawyer, but there should be like international laws against copyright infringement for sure.
Yeah, normally copyright is automatic and international, but it's kind of about how to enforce it. That's a major issue.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, but I like to make it like a legal way, not like bullying by Instagram, like some. I don't like to humiliate another artist. It's not my way. I don't mind if you reinterpret my work or you do it for yourself in your home. Sometimes I've been sent pictures. Hey, I made your work. I can't afford your work, but I painted myself. That's fine. I
Yeah.
don't mind.
Yeah, I've gotten that. Or students making stuff.
Yeah. And I really feel flattered. It's fine. That's really beautiful. But another thing is that you're getting profits from it. And literally with exactly my shapes, it's like, no.
Yeah, I've had people
Okay.
email me asking, "Oh, what materials exactly do you use?" And I'm like, mm, "Why do you want to
Nah,
know?"
I used to be very naive and say everything. I didn't have like secrets, but then I realized it could be used against you. You just keep some things for yourself. I
Yeah.
like to share. I love to share products, but some things The people always not always are with good intentions. So yeah, sometimes you have to protect your work.
You mentioned you're working on something really exciting right now. What can you share about it?
Big installation, but I don't like to share details because until they are not real,
Yeah, I
it's
know
not.
what you mean.
Yeah, but every time it's one of my goals going in that direction of stepping out of the gallery. I like working with galleries. I'm okay with that, but with installation, public arts, I found it kind of more democratic, for institutions. So more people can experience it. Because with the gallery, sometimes you feel like kind of, okay, can I go in?
It's more accessible.
Exactly, like more elitist. So the institutional work is more accessible. Exactly, that's the word.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry for my Spanglish in this interview.
It's all right. It's good. If you could do whatever, anywhere, with whomever, what's a dream project that you'd want to do?
Well, as my inspiration comes from nature, my goal is that, well, my dream is that my art is placed in the nature, being in direct dialogue with nature. So in the deserts, in the caves, in the mountain, with the snow, with the waterfalls, can be in direct dialogue with the source, with the inspiration of my works. Yeah, that's my dream. It's like talking to God. Yeah,
So moving back to land art and moving into public art.
exactly. I think that's my goal. It's more long-term works, it's more going back to architecture. Everything is more complicated
Yeah.
and takes more time, but I think I'm going back to what I learned in architecture. I think architecture was like a preparation for what I have to do. So yeah, I think everything in life is happens for a reason. So it's like a preparation for what are you going to become, learning tools. I think I will keep doing paintings and small works, the sculptures. I really enjoy them to being in the studio because it's like some studies of what you want to express. It's another language.
What's a favorite tool or resource or something that you use that makes your life way easier?
ChatGPT. The best assistance you will ever have. It's incredible.
Yep.
You know, um, talking, reacting, texting it's a challenge. For me, it's a challenge. Communicating with words, I think that's what I make art because I'm not really very good expressing with words. So, for example, writing text, the concepts, ChatGPT is incredible. It's one of the best tools that are the recent tools. Also, while free modeling is also really useful for me. I use CAD, SketchUp, Photoshop. I use it a lot. But ChatGPT is the winner. Mid journey for AI is incredible for concepts too. I can work when I'm traveling and I'm not in the studio. I can create just making a sketch too, but I can create with AI to making concepts. And then I intervene there with Photoshop, with rendering, but the rough process is made with AI. Before AI was just rendering, but it takes more time, way more time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they are more precise, it's AI is more for a concept of, I don't know, but it's more I can have different angles. So I can have them exactly how I want them. It's more for a rough concept. And then I pass for a SketchUp model and then I can have more accurate, more precise.
I'm sure it will get better and better in a very short time.
Yeah, very short time. It's insane. it's kind of scary.
Yeah, I use it also often for like a rough guide on writing something because I'm the same. I don't like to write. ChatGPT does the big job and then I just make it my own.
Yeah. I don't know if you're going to get lazy after many years. You won't know how to write anymore. But I mean, again, you have to know what you want and you have to gauge them parameters. It's like you have to be the curator, the director of what you like. And there are a lot of tools now to create the ideas that you have in mind. So it's an important time of the human race. It's a lot of challenges, like a lot of evolution in a very short time. Well, evolution in some ways, evolution in many others, it's challenging times, but also fascinating. And even for the art world, before the artist needs a gallery to be seen. Now you don't need a gallery. I mean, I believe in galleries, work with galleries, but you're starting, you don't need a gallery. You have your visibility, you can get clients online. You are not able to reach a gallery or if you don't want to work with galleries. So it's fascinating times. Everything you need to know is there's a guy who can teach you step by step how to do it. So
Yeah.
yeah, and all the resources.
Yeah, I agree. All the amazing things I've learned from the University of TikTok recently. Is there somewhere where people can go and see your work and see the work in person at the moment?
You can visit my studio in Barcelona. And also, well, my website, I have most of the projects.
What's your website?
My website is studiomareo.com. My Instagram is Studio Mareo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I will put all of those in the show notes for people to find.
Okay, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Mareo. It's been really fascinating. I love your work and I've loved hearing more about it. It's very interesting.
Thank you, Anastasia. Very nice.
That was Mareo Rodriguez, based in Barcelona. You can find out more about his work on his website, studiomareo.com, and on his Instagram at Studio Mareo. That's STUDIOMAREO. Links to those, as well as everyone mentioned in this episode, are in the show notes and on our website, installationartpodcast.com. If you like this podcast, the best way to show your support and help us grow is by leaving a 5-star review. This helps our rating and it helps other people find the show. Thank you for tuning in, and until next time.